Welcome once again to the newest edition of 3 In, 3 Out, the most unique Seahawks recap show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner. Come out and find me on Twitter at Clinton Bon. I am, of course, joined by the one, the only, the great Brandan Schultz, and find him out on Twitter at SeahawkersPod. Brandan, this might be a bit of a tearful goodbye for the season, just for the season. We're not going anywhere, too drastic here. But for 3 In, 3 Out, it's a seasonal show because when the show is over, when the music's over, there's the nooks and crannies kind of go away for at least quite a little bit. So right. But I'm gonna enjoy serving these up to you one last time. I promise myself I won't cry. But it is a bit of a sentimental ending to what was a really fun and surprisingly entertaining season. So now a day and a half or so removed from a loss that was pretty darn close. I know the score is not indicative of that, but how are you feeling a day and a half later? Have you rewatched it? Have you revisited it? Have you buried it? Where are you at? How's your Hawkra? Most important.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm feeling maybe quite the opposite of you because I felt like we were fortunate for it to be as close as it was. And so that has me at least somewhat hopeful toward next season. And I was happy that we at least, got to give 49ers fans a little bit of a scare being up at halftime, which going back and looking at it, I think I think we were fortunate. And we have our Ryan 911, our executive producer, our live executive producer coming in with a $9.99 super chat saying in championship off season. And that's really what I'm looking forward to. I'm with Ryan. It's a game that we didn't expect to be in against an opponent that we've lost to a couple times already this season, although traditionally have beaten. And so I was kind of waiting for Pete to flip that switch and get back on the beat Kyle Shanahan bus. I guess we traded that chip for the beat Sean McVay chip this week or this season. So yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
It's fine. It's okay. Yes. And part of me was, come at halftime, I was just absolutely buzzing, and it was so cool. It was so great. I can take away making the 49ers pucker up just one last time before they take the game away, knowing the nervousness set in, and that I could sit in that pocket for a few weeks and convince myself that that's some a good place to be. And I think we played pretty darn well, and when I rewatched this game, there was some glaring holes, and they're a more talented team, and really good teams make the biggest plays. And then the teams that are not quite there yet tend to not make them or go the opposite direction. It's kind of what we saw for a third time with these Niners. Now all firepower for me, Brandon, is like, I don't care who. It could be the Eagles. It could be the Giants. It could be the Cowboys, and maybe the Bucks. It could be any of the AFC big three that will likely, one of those three get there. I don't care. I don't want a repeat of last year. I think a Niners, Super Bowl would hurt me more than the Rams even did, because I also think the Niners team's better than that Rams team.
Oh yeah. It's just the reason why it hurts more is because the Niners have actual fans who can then, give you ribbing in the off season, whereas nobody knows any Rams fans. So that's what makes it easier.
Yeah, it kind of came and went, and then they went 5-12, right? So that was it. So
right. And nobody was there reminding me all off season about how the Rams had won in my personal life. Now, through the podcast world, sure, but
sure.
This Rams fan thing that
the singular the Rams fan,
right.
And hey, it's so
we all know one, but they're
yeah.
kind of sort of a fan because they their dad was maybe a fan back in the day, and they really couldn't care a whole lot about how the team does, enough at least to make it hard on you. Not like Niners fans who are like still living in all 80s glory.
They absolutely are. So let's keep them there. That's the plan, right? If it's like Superman 2 and they put the three bad guys in that little interdimensional mirror thingy that goes out in space, let's just keep them there. Just keep them there for a little longer.
And so that's the thing. So if you really want to stick it to Niners fans, you
Yes.
want the Cowboys to win against the Bucks, because that would hurt Niners fans more than anything would be to lose to the Cowboys and not advance to the championship based off of a loss to the Cowboys. Now, do we think that Dallas can get that win? I don't know. Do we think that Brady is more likely to get that win? Because they're playing the winner of the matchup on Monday night. So as we record this, we don't know the outcome. Maybe by the time you're hearing this, you know who wins. In terms of Seahawks fandom, we would want the Bucks to win this game because that would improve our draft position. But yes, if we really want to stick it to Niners fans, we want the Cowboys to win and then go on and beat the Niners.
Yes, I'll take any of those that end in a Niners defeat. I will take for 600, please. That is what I want. Right. And
I'll take a worse draft pick. I'll take one worse draft pick if it means the Niners go down in the next round.
It's okay. 19 to 20. You know, it's okay. If that was the deal on the table, I would sign for that. As a Seahawks fan, like, yep, I'll take it. Right now. It's not a big deal to me. So, but them winning would hurt. I hate them. They are. To me, our biggest rival. I hate them the most in all NFL sports hate. And they're good. And we saw that, but they're not unbeatable. The thing is, they are not unbeatable. They're not some absolute juggernaut. But again, a lesser Rams team pulled it off with the help of the NFL a little bit last year too. And with that, Brandon, I do want the folks at home to make sure like, hey, 3 and 3 out might be ending for the year. Sure. And with that, the Seahawks podcast, it just, train, keep it rolling. You and Adam will have the flagship pretty much every single week, as you do throughout the off season. We'll have plenty of time for, postseason analysis shows, draft. The whole draft season was a blast last year. Will be even more fun this year with the 5th pick, and then either the 19th or 20th and the 36th and the whole thing already. And then, of course, by the time you get into the summertime, well, then it's mini camp, and then it's everything starts churning again, and you get into August and we're back in preseason. So we'll be back in season huzzah, if you will, with 5 shows a week come August, but there will be a little bit of a reprieve where we take a small break and we slow the pace down a little bit, just because, well, it ain't Locked On Seahawks. There are other places to go for your dailies. We'll do it when there's a reason to get together and share some Seahawks stuff. And with that, Brandon, we do want to go through this last game. I got them right here. There were ins, there was outs, there was joy, there was tribulations. It was actually a pretty compelling game and a fun rewatch. If you're down for it, we got to start with an out. So if you want to hit the wham, we could do the duty.
All right, here we go with the duty.
All right, starting with outs. Always, not fun. But truthful. It is what it is. And as we get into these, a couple of things I want to kind of call out as almost like themes for some of the why I chose these. A couple were like this. I'm trying to call up some emblematic things that, besides it being a micro moment, it was also like maybe a little bit of a reflection on how the season went. Not all of them, but certainly a couple on like how the season unfolded for us. So if I'm calling on some heroes in the in section, you might harken back and remember these dudes that put together a really, really good season. With that, we got to start on the out section. Okay. I will say this out of the gate. The guy I'm about to call out was probably Seattle's, man of the match, especially offensively, right? So getting into it, Q1, 8:50 to go. It's 3-0 Niners. We're driving now. Seattle is at the 49ers 48. Okay. It's 3-0. Now it's 3rd and 2. Okay. We all know, if you're remembering, it gets to 10-0 pretty darn quickly, right? So it's like, what went wrong here? So on this 3rd and 2, you got Geno in shotgun, K9 to his left. You got Colby offset to Geno's right. Kind of a cool little, flexible formations they've been doing throughout the year. In this, and you got Metcalf and an ISO left. And then on the snap, what happens is it's a bit of a Geno keeper to the left-hand side. And man, oh man, at first I thought this was Colby Parkinson's. Live, I thought Colby couldn't decide who to go block. Live, I was like, what? Hey, he split the difference. Didn't block Bosa, didn't block number 31, who I think is Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out it wasn't really Parkinson's fault. This one is on DK, man. Like DK had a heck of a game. And in this instance, he just kind of gets too high, if you want to call it that way. Like it's a little too deep. He's just got to come back and execute a crackback on a safety on Gibson, right? 31. And all he's got to do is get in the way. All he's got to do is get in the way. Don't got to kill the guy. He doesn't. He gets beat to the inside. And Ward's actually trying, you could watch, Ward's kind of tugging him. He knows. Ward sees what's happening. He's actually grabbing his arm downfield, which is a pretty savvy move. And he blows
a penalty for defensive holding, but yes.
Yeah, they could, of course, yeah, but savvy nonetheless when you don't get caught, right? And Gibson beats him and DK doesn't execute it. If he does, man, Gino is walking to a first down. Walking. He would sprint it out there and get probably 5, 6, 7, 8, and the chains keep him moving. It was on the rewatch. I was like, oh, that wasn't Colby. That was DK's. We know what DK did in the game, but it's about these things of execution. And I like DK as a blocker. Big moment, and he missed.
I'm okay with DK getting out because most of the blame on this play probably goes to him. Now, Colby could he have gotten Bosa a little bit more. Maybe it gives Gino a little bit more room to try and shake the Gibson tackle and get upfield. And you pointed out too, yeah, maybe there was a missed defensive holding call on the play too. I'm not normally a proponent of defensive holding, just because it seems like the defense should have like some ability to, I don't know, especially on running plays. It seems kind of weird, but in this moment, it does illustrate why it can turn in, make an advantage for the defense by holding. It's tough giving it to DK, and I see why you're doing it right out of the gate because maybe by the end of the show people forget, and it does offset by his solid game that he had offensively, maybe one of his best playoff games actually.
DK has been a monster in the playoffs, right? He's averaging, I think, 110 yards or something like that in the playoffs. He's scoring touchdowns. He had a great game. So this is it's never about a micro moment or a single out. Isn't like, oh, the guy stunk the entire time. That's not what the show's about. But it is big moments where we're down 3-0 already, and we have to punt the ball. And then, by the way, I think the next freaking play is, or right after, is like McCaffrey goes down the left-hand side for 60-something yards, right? So
yeah, it was the very next play after.
Right. So it's
back to,
it's just these things that snowball into each other versus us sustaining our first drive. And offensively, I think we did pretty well, especially the first half. We did really well. And DK was a huge reason for it. However, he's going to wear the first out. And let's get to some good, really good stuff that was there too as we close out this year. Let's get to that first in. Let's whammy it.
Finally.
Hey, when you lose a playoff game, you're gonna hear it, folks. This is
not only we're gonna start with an out, but we're gonna drag that thing out.
The Pollyanna glasses come off. It's the last time for quite a while, so it's going to be a little long-winded. Go figure. Me being long-winded, right? So Q1, 7:15 to go. It's still 3-0. We just talked about McCaffrey has the big run down the left-hand side. Yeah. Man, oh man, on that play that was like some Walter. I mean, I know it's Trent Williams, and if you're going to say who is a Walter Jones style left tackle, well, it's Trent Williams. But the freaking hole he had, holy Hannah, Urban's washed out, Tariq is washed out, and McCaffrey's just gone. But the next play after that, it's like right after that, you got Nwosu. He does such a good job on this play. So it's let's see, at the 17-yard line, if folks are tracking. So right after that big McCaffrey run. So Nwosu, he beats two dudes on this particular play. He beats McGlinchey to the inside, and then you got Tyler Croft, the backup tight end. He's coming around he's pulling, and he beats him to his inside, to his outside, kind of swims him, and he gets this huge tackle for a loss, like 3 yards against Elijah Mitchell, while McCaffrey's getting a blow on the sidelines. And I loved it so much because, again, like, calling back to emblematic of the season. And Nwosu had 3 TFLs in this game, maybe even a 4th. I didn't rewatch the whole way through. When I stopped my rewatch, it was 3. But he played so well this whole year. He did this a lot. He was our best in my opinion, our best consistent defensive player. And it was like plays like this that, like, once he gets a little more support, I think actually up the middle defensive tackle wise, Nwosu, I think, is going to have a equally good year, if not even a better year next year. Very excited for him. So happy to give Nwosu the first glory for today.
Nwosu, according to PFF, was the Seahawks' best run defender on the day. You brought up that he had 3 TFLs. He had 3 tackles. So 3 tackles, each one of them for a loss. Very impressive for Nwosu. And I did see somewhere out on Twitter that you could actually re-sign Nwosu and save money against the cap by giving him a long-term deal. I hope the Seahawks do that this offseason.
That made all the sense in the world to me. I think it was Dan Viennes, right? I think that's saying his last name correctly. So of the Field Goals podcast, who took over after you had passed the torch on to him and Dana. And he does a real nice job. And yeah, it was something along the lines that if they are to extend Nwosu, he was sharing somebody else's tweet that if they extend Nwosu, they could stand to save $5.3 million in cap space.
Yeah,
that's significant. And seeing what the dude did all year long, how good he was, his sack numbers, his edge setting, it makes perfect sense, right? They got him on a good deal. Extend him now, reward him, and get the cap benefit. And he's still young. Was going to turn 26 next year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I think that, and when you talked about this being emblematic, Nwosu has had an outstanding season this entire year. He's come up in the in department over and over, and to the point that if he does sign a big contract, he probably won't be here much because we'll just have these expectations of him next year.
Yeah, good point. That he rose to that level of like, oh, you're starting to call out the superstar, right? Which is really cool. Last offseason when we signed him, I was like, ooh, I get excited easily. So it's not like, we sign people. they're gonna be my favorite player. I love them. They're a Seahawk now. In particular with Nwosu, I had mentioned a few times, it's like, hey, we got to watch him a lot down the stretch because the Chargers were always on TV because they had the ridiculous end of their season last year. And to me, he just kept showing up. I'm like, this guy's always around the ball. And the nice part is that didn't stop. So really looking to see what we can do to pair with him this year in a more consistent manner, whether that's a twin on the other side from an edge setting perspective, or Mafe takes the step, or they really beef up the defensive tackles and see what we do there. So it'll be interesting. We have a lot of chips to play, but I'm really happy Nwosu got that. So, all right, on to the next out. No fun. No fun zone. We got to do it though. It's the cross we bear on 3 and 3 out. All right,
call it the duty zone because it is our duty to do the 3 outs, and it also works.
We didn't. Well, I was gonna say we didn't make the rules, but actually we did. But they are. There is only one rule. We know that. But we structured this show.
This show is great.
All right. So we got this out. Q2, 1:18 to go. We're up 14-13. We are up 14-13, right? Q2 1:18 to go. We have the ball at our own 29, and it's a 3rd and 8. Okay. So what ends up happening on this play is a draw to DJ Dallas. Now, I hate it. I hated it. I hated it in the moment. I hated the second down play. I hated the fact that K9 all of a sudden it's within 2 minutes. So K9 could run the ball for 2 yards the first time, and then he's off the field because he ran the first down run. It was his for 2 yards. Then it was a DJ run, and then it was a DJ run. Now, I thought it was weak. I thought it was, not playing to win. And then the thing that I heard from Michael Sean Dugar and company, which the dude's real close to the team, that this was discussed, Gino audibled into that run. He audibled into that run. Now you go back and you watch it. You have an edge guy real far right. I don't think it's Bosa. I couldn't see who it was.
That was because on the alignment it was heavy to 3 49ers to the right side of the offense. And so there was a big, it looked like there was going to be a big gap right on the left side of the center and the A gap.
Absolutely. That you nailed it. That's exactly the picture that was there. So it looked like it was there for the taking. Now on the snap, Abe Lucas does not block Bosa, which is who knows why. Something got crossed. Something was he's the right tackle. Bosa is over there and they're overloaded left. Lucas just doesn't block him, and Bosa walks in untouched, and it's either a TFL or no gain, whatever it is, and we got to punt the ball. Then we trade field goals in a really strange way, but it's like, man, I didn't like audibling into it, and I want to throw the ball there. It's 3rd and 8. I had some challenges with that, so Lucas did not execute. And again, I'm giving this to Gino. Gino I think he had a great year. I thought he played well. But he played really, really well. This is a darn good defense. But dude, you got to play to win. Audibling into a draw, it wasn't good enough for me. So he's taking it out.
I like the look, and so it made sense when I went back and watched that play. I think the play that I have a bigger problem with is running on 2nd down, coming out of the 2-minute warning, and then not only that, it runs that play down. It takes 40 seconds off the play clock. So it seemed like coming out of the 2-minute warning, the decision was we're going to play for the lead. We're going to try and run the clock out as much as we can. Hopefully they get the first down there and they're able to keep the ball, I guess, till halftime. It probably would have been more of the plan. But I think it is more of that 2nd down play that speaks to me, because that's the point where you're taking your foot off the gas.
I think you are right. I think they just compiled into each other, and with, you can't have one without the other type thing. If we don't do a DJ Dallas run for no yards on 2nd and 8, then we're not in that situation. He doesn't try to get cute in the moment thinking he sees something and then it's not executed well. So I think they just kind of snowballed. And yeah, it's you're not going to get a lot of opportunities with the baddest man on the block to knock him down when you just not gonna get that many chances. The DK touchdown down the left-hand side, we go up, we get the ball back, and it's our ball. And we know they're getting the ball in the second half, right? So it just seemed like the time to really let it loose. And I agree with you, that 2nd down run, both of those things were just indicative of not being aggressive enough when we had the opportunity against the biggest bully on the block, and we should have been more aggressive. I think it'll be a regret going into this year. Hopefully something we can correct and just kind of learn from as we get ready for 23. But I like how you took it, Brandon. All right, let's take it to the inside. Now we're going to take it to the limit, Eagle style. All right, Q2, 9:08 to go. It's 10-7 Niners, and they have the ball at our 12-yard line. Okay, 10-7. So this play, sometimes I like to say how it resulted to kind of jog people's memory and bring them back. This play results in in our only sack, the Bruce Irvin sack. Now, there's some good things happening all across the board here. Poona Ford blows his dude up, almost gets a sack. Bruce gets the cleanup. What I really loved about this particular play, and I want to ask you if you think it was on purpose. So Bruce is trying to get around Trent Williams. And he's really just trying to sprint upfield to get around the dude. And then to me, it looks like he realizes McCaffrey's about to go out on a screen. Looks like he picks that up, and he really just gives McCaffrey a really good Shawshank Redemption, just stopping him in the tracks, and it blows the whole play up. Then Poona almost gets there. He's able to wiggle back around Williams, who's now kind of really, upfield, if you will. And Bruce gets the sack. Poona does his thing. Bruce gets the sack, but I wonder, it looked to me like Bruce realized, hey, McCaffrey's going to the flat, and he blew him up on purpose. I think he did it on purpose. I'm going to give the in with the assumption he did it on purpose, but a really lovely play. What did you think? Do you think Bruce just ran into him by mistake, or do you think he recognized, targeted him, and did it with intent?
I think for a veteran of Bruce Irvin, just the amount of time that he's been in the league, I think that was intentional. So I think you're right on giving him the in for this, and not just for the sack, but also for blowing up the play and making that opportunity available to him for the sack. And it ended up resulting in a field goal. not a whole lot of those to where,
Right.
yeah, we, because if it's a dump off play to McCaffrey, maybe they get close there. Maybe it ends up resulting in a play that's because when they were in third manageable, they were all over this defense all day long.
Yeah.
So,
100%. Whether it was a Purdy sneak or just something super quick, right? You're right when they got to that, and we talked about that. Not to say ad nauseum, but we talked about that. Heading into the game, that we had to get them into longer situations, and we were okay when we did. Purdy made some plays. There was just some coverage challenges that we know, kind of showed up over and over again. And for the most part, when we had them in those third and longs, we were, lo and behold, way more successful than 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. I mean, it's not even hard, right? But a really nice play by a savvy veteran. Bruce earned it. And I do wonder, is that going to be the last kind of time we see Bruce Irvin? Is this it? Was this it? He had a good year. So trying to also kind of wrap up the idea that Bruce comes in off the shelf, if you will, brings leadership, shows dudes, this is how you set a friggin' edge. Right? Didn't do it always perfectly, by the way. Yeah. He wasn't always perfect.
He had a couple missed tackles in this game too.
Yep, yeah, but they all did. Let's be honest about that. But his like, a huge stat in hockey, one of the biggest, most important stats in hockey is plus minus, right? So the plus minus ratio is how often are you on the ice when your team scores versus how often are you on the ice when you get scored upon. So plus minus, it's a really kind of fun stat, because you could be a dude who only scores 5 goals a year, but your plus minus is like plus 28 because you're such a key cog that your team's nasty when you're on the ice. I look at Bruce. I don't know what his plus minus is. I just know it's plus. I just know the dude's a plus for our team. And kind of how Peterson got into Penny's head last year and made him a better back. I'm real hopeful that players like Maffei and even Taylor will get the boost from Bruce. That's a fun phrase. The boost from Bruce as we get into 2023. So wanted to wrap that one up for Bruce because it felt good. Yes. Okay, right to the last out of the season here, Brandan. All right. Yeah, talk about emblematic, right? I've been a supporter of this guy. I've been a bit of a stand for him. And in this game, I'll say really bad angles came back out. Really bad angles. Bad pursuit.
Don't do this.
It's bad pursuit. Bad. So Q3, 17-16. I mean, it's just this game. Anyway, 17-16. We're winning, right? 10:24 to go. Yeah. San Francisco is now at Seattle's 38-yard line, and we're in one of those situations, 3rd and 7. We're in 3rd and 7. You got Purdy. He's got an empty set. He's in shotgun. There's a 4-man rush, and oh, by the way, Shelby Harris, he wins. Go watch that play. Shelby does with a 4-man rush exactly what you want to do, like Michael Strahan style, like pushing a dude right back into Brady's face in both, in the Super Bowls, right? Where Brady just, all of a sudden that's his kryptonite, with a 4-man rush that can get there. So Shelby Harris does his job. That's a micro in.
Right. He's
right in Purdy's face. Purdy, little bit of a slant, and Tariq Woolen is right on Debo's hip. He's right there. But tough dude, real tough guy to cover, catches it in stride. And then Barton takes a bad angle and he wipes his own guy out. He wipes his guy out. He wipes out Woolen. And then MJ misses a tackle downfield and Debo's gone for, I don't know, another explosive, right? 30 something yards. They had way too many explosives. I've been a big supporter of Barton. I still think he's a pretty high caliber. I think he's at least a good NFL linebacker. It was a huge moment, and I think a big misplay. Saw too many bad angles from Barton throughout this game. He's getting the last out of the season because it was such a pivotal play to me, Brandan. Barton gets the final out. What do you say?
Okay, well, I'm glad you went here, and because I was thinking there was a Miles Adams play where I had him on the outside of the ledger for one moment, and I thought that would be a terrible way to end the season of 3 and 3 out by calling out a guy who is a friend of the podcast.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't do it. I would do it if it was egregious, if it was real bad. I didn't see it. I saw a couple of plays where Miles was pretty good. He had another tackle for a loss, I think down by the goal line.
Yeah.
He played pretty well, man. I'm excited for his 2023. But no, I think it was such a monumental play. I think Barton really, he just didn't play a very good game. And we had a lot of missed tackles, and he contributed to that. And this particular play really burnt me on the rewatch. It really hurt.
Yeah, not playing a good game is maybe a bit of an understatement, especially when you look across the board at his PFF grades. Lowest ranked player in terms of defense overall with a grade of 26.
Oof.
In run defense, he was about middle of the pack-ish. In tackling, a grade of 36. In pass rush, that's kind of I think he only had one opportunity and didn't do much with it. But and then his coverage grade also 26, giving up 5 receptions on 6 targets for 70 yards on the day. And it's one of those games where you think, I think, if he comes back as a backup, that's cool. Maybe.
Right. And I think he's a perfectly cromulent NFL backup, and obviously could spot start and started all year, right? It's not like he hasn't now started for almost a season and a half. With all that, Brian Nemhauser was tweeting about that linebacker is a really nice position that you could go to the veteran market. You don't have to go draft. It's undervalued by the NFL. You can get dudes in their mid-20s who are good ball players who just come in and fit. Yeah. And it happens every single year. So it shouldn't be the hardest one to go pluck a player. And I would say culturally, this team completely turned the tide, right? Went from a place where, obviously it was riding high in the 2012, 2013, and then the Super Bowl happens in 2014. Then it was kind of like in a malaise for a couple of years. And then it was absolutely hitting rock bottom, but it bottomed really quickly. It bottomed super quickly. This season, if it does anything else, just re-emphasize and magnified that Pete Carroll and the whole crew have a really important culture, and players still want to be there. And this is a really important season to go get a couple of guys who are like, I want to go play for Coach Carroll. And they reestablished that. Some teams, the Washington Commanders, go through decades-long lulls where they can't attract talent because the whole core of what they're doing is rotten. This hit bottom, and it was like a V-shaped thing, right? Hit bottom, it's right back up, and it might even be, back up to where it was in the Super Bowl era because players ain't dumb. Players are not dumb. So I think it's a little piece of it that's really important. We'll see it throughout this offseason. But the whole point being is we need to improve at linebacker. I think free agency would be a great smart route. Okay. Yes. Ryan saying on the YouTube, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. Hope you all are out there. And of course, like it, subscribe, share. The whole thing grew. I pulled some stats today. Remarkable growth, which is so cool. And I'll speak for myself. I'm sure you are too. Humble, grateful. Just great to see folks really, really loving the fact that we put out all this cool content this year. And we get to finish this year, which was a fun year, with a really cool, again, indicative, emblematic of where this team is going. Not last week, not when we played Denver, where we are going heading into the 2023 season in a nutshell right here. So, Brandon, are you ready for that?
Let's do it.
Let's do that. All right. So here's the in. All right. Q3, 6:36 to go. We're now down 23-17. We all know how this drive ends. We're not going there. We know how it ends. Mm-hmm. However, Seattle is now we're at our own 27-yard line. It's a 2nd and 8. I think it was after a 2-yard Ken Walker. Hey, go freaking north, young man, which he did. I like the way Walker ran the ball.
One of his 2 carries in the second half.
Yeah. That's the most egregious out. Not to derail us on the end, but he had 13 carries in the first half. He ends the game with 15 carries. Not acceptable. Not acceptable. I know we got derailed and this drive derailed us. Still not acceptable. With all that, we're at 2nd and 8. And what happens here? You got Geno under center. You got 12 personnel. So you got Fant and Parkinson over to the right, tight right. And you've got K9 in the backfield, right? With Geno under center. And you got Lockett going in motion right to left. On the hike, Lockett stops, pivots, and goes back to where he came from, right? So just imagine that in your head. Play action fake to play action to K9 to the left-hand side, boot right, levels concept. You got Lockett wide open in the flats, Geno, and you got Fant just screaming down, absorbing a cornerback and a safety. And then right dead smack in the middle, DK sits down 10 yards downfield, catches the ball. I think they end up with, I think it was 21-yard gain, as easy as pie as it got, and gets us basically to midfield to the 48-yard line in this beautifully constructed play. And Brandon, what I want to call out, it's not an in for DK. He ran the route well. It's not an in for Geno. He did it exactly how he's supposed to do it. The whole thing is when we run the ball effectively, they have got to respect the play action boot. The play action boot was good in this game. It had gone away for weeks.
Right.
We're like, hey, this thing works so well. Let's never do it again. But it was because there was no respect for the run game that it just wasn't working. The defensive end could just sell out and just stay on the quarterback, and the whole thing's blown to bits. It worked over and over and over again, just calling one out. If we run the ball really, really well going into 2023, this team could be an easy top 5 offense next year. It's an easy top 5 offense. So I want to end with the positive to next year. The boot levels concepts came back. They worked so well, and it's because we ran the friggin' ball. And I want to end with that beautiful end of like, this team next year, a little bit of an upgrade, Brandon, a little bit of an upgrade in the interior offensive line, and we will be a top 5 offense. What do you think?
I'm into it. I think, you know what, I'm going to put my 2 cents in here.
Please.
That's an end to DK because the way you started the show. So great job by DK picking up the 21 yards and the first down here, making the chains move. And yeah, if this drive finishes the way it should, and you're trading blows with the Niners throughout the third quarter, man, it would have made this game even more fun. And I do that. It does show. I think we got a taste of, there's sometimes the stats say that you can run play action and it ends up being beneficial to your offense in the passing game. But there's also, you can see where the defense really starts to respect the run game. And with Walker and him having really through 3 quarters, an excellent game. I think I saw that he was the second best running back against the Niners defense this season, and he pretty much didn't even play any of the second half. And the other running back was Josh Jacobs, who had maybe 4 more yards in that Raiders game against the Niners.
Yeah, that's it. I love that. It's a great, what I'm trying to, instill and stir up is just that, the final score was gross. And the fourth quarter, the end of the third quarter on was gross all the way through the end of the game. We got to own that. We can't hide behind that. The ref call on D-Lou helped, 3rd and 2 versus 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 13 is gigantic. It was just absolutely changed the game. Now D-Lou was about 1.5 yards downfield, and you're supposed to be a yard. They typically give you the extra room, but not going to complain about that. It's like, it's ticky tacky, I grew up playing hockey, and you knew the refs. You knew what refs would call what things. There was one particular ref, a friend of mine, his name's Frank Bequicchio, and he would always call, if you close your hand on the puck, even for like half a beat, you can't do that in hockey. You're not allowed to close your hand on the puck. Even if you did it for a little bit, he would 2 minutes, boom, that ends a penalty. But he was very, very known for that thing. It's like, dude, you can't, Frank's reffing, don't do it. Just, you could bat it. Don't close your hand on the puck. It's a rule. Where others would barely ever call it. I've got to think, this is the NFL. I got to think they talk about these things. Hey, this crew's going to really watch this thing. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But for D-Lou to do it 3 times was rough. And with all that, I want to end on the positive and stick to the positive. You talked about Ken Walker. Ken Walker, another in for me that was almost there, was in the third quarter. he has a beautiful pickup on Hufanga. Hufanga comes on a safety blitz. He swings all the way around, just caps him off.
Yeah.
So just to look at the growth of where K9 was, early in the season with his ability to pick up the blitz and not take 2 to 3 yards when that's what was there for the taking. You start putting those things together. He's a true 3-down back, and we improve that offensive line. I'll say it again. This is a top 5 offense next year with a little bit of tweaking, and we could be super, super dangerous. We hung with the Niners more than people will remember, but I don't think you and I will forget going into next year, Brandon.
Yeah, it was overall a fun year. I wish it could have ended a little bit better. Thanks to Samuel Gelber, who I know has been hanging with us all throughout the year during these live shows, comes in with a $12 super chat, says, this has been so much fun this entire year. Thanks you guys as much as the Hawk. Not every team's rebuilding years are this fun.
Oh, that's great. That's a super cool sentiment. Thank you, Sam. A, for the super chat, and B, that's a great statement. You're right. Again, I got a buddy who's a Commanders fan, right? And he's just so checked out. He's like, until they change the fabric of this entire thing, he doesn't want anything to do with it. Imagine being there. Like that would hurt. That would hurt. This didn't hurt. Yeah, losing sucks, but the year was good. The year was really good, really, really, nicely progressive. So very nice. So Brandon, anything stick out to you that we didn't canvas that you thought we might? I know we don't got a brand in, but who cares? This is, as Taylor Swift says, this is our house. We make the rules. Anything else you want to talk about that we didn't get to?
Yeah, we've got From the Flock coming up, so we can get into some of those things there, especially when we get into the ins and outs. I don't want to go to negative town right now because it is we are just coming out of an in. I know, but we do have some outs to get to when we get to From the Flock. And if you want to become a member of the Flock, you can go to getintheflock.com. Now we won't have game day chats necessarily in the Discord, but we'll have other things to follow. The combine coming up in the off season. We'll have the draft coming up that, maybe we'll do some watch parties here through the playoffs because we're going to have teams that we really want to root against. So there's lots of stuff going on this off season. To be a part of the Discord, join us there. $3 a month and above gets you into that. $12 in a month gets you into our Facebook Ring of Honor group where, we're posting quite a bit as well. So looking forward to the off season. It's going to be a busy one. And if you want more of what we do, that's another place to find us.
Yeah, and the Discord has been super fun. Facebook Ring of Honor is always a good time, daily on that spot as well. So it's been a lot. It's been really cool connecting with so many new people, and then growing the relationships further with folks that I've now known for a couple of years on, and just seeing them contribute week in, week out. So we are in From the Flock, and someone who is always contributing is Car. Let's start with an in from Car. She goes, in. Great start on defense, keeping them to just 3. Yeah, that was a nice job. It felt fine and good. Be like, all right, they scratched 3. Who cares? We could score, and we did.
Marlon with the out to DK at 8:15 in the first, not blocking, let a tackle loose on Gino. And yeah, that's the play that we started off with this show.
Yeah, Marlon saw what I saw, and hard to not see it, right, is what it boils down to. We're right back to Car for an in. The momentum is making me too hopeful, and I think we all had that. We all had that. At least I'll speak for myself. Just had that moment of like, holy crap, we're gonna beat them, aren't we? And we didn't, but the moments were there that really got me off the couch, man.
Chris Boucher, aka Bobby Boucher, friend of the pod. Miles Adams with a tackle for a loss.
Really like what I saw from Miles progressing throughout the year, through the year. He got more and more time. I'm not going to poo-poo other players. I'm just not going to do it. I think he deserved even more time than he got. I still think he's more disruptive. For an quote unquote undersized guy, I think he plays the run better than some of the other dudes in there at this point. Excited to see what could come for Miles next year as well. So, and he is friend of the pod, a really good dude. All right. So I had some text messages come in too. This one was from Ed Essie. He wrote in via text and said, in first half penalty discipline because we played so clean. And then he was texting me basically in the, he didn't say the words exactly, but he was like, hey, is K9 hurt? Like, what happened? Like, where did K9 go? Which to me was a huge head scratcher. And we talked about the stats to back that up.
Yeah, and maybe he was. We didn't get anything out
Right.
of Pete Carroll's press conference to close the season that indicated that maybe he was hurt, but maybe nobody asked that question. So, boys biceps with an in. Michael Jackson's pass breakup at the end of the first half. Great play.
That was a real nice play. Overall, every single year, we get into a bit of a frenzy. We're talking like years on years now with Pete Carroll. We get into a bit of a frenzy about who's playing, who are our DBs. And we're like, who are they? This is a no-name thing. What's going on? And every single year, the DBs are good, like at least passable, and then upwards of good. And Michael Jackson, we'll talk about emblems. I think Michael Jackson, is exactly that. It's like, who? Like he's starting, not Sidney Jones and Trey Brown's back, but Michael Jackson's still in it. Michael Jackson played pretty good all year. So love that he gets some love here. Those are the kind of dudes that I think the show is kind of all about.
Yeah, if you look out, I think Ben Baldwin on Twitter had some cornerback efficiency stats. And Tariq Woolen was like way up, Sauce Gardner, Tariq Woolen, they were way up toward the top quadrant of the chart. This wasn't a chart, though, of all corners. It was essentially all good corners. And down in the lower left, there was like Jalen Ramsey and one of the Baltimore corners, like other good corner names that you recognize. And in that same grouping was Michael Jackson. And it just, for him to have the season that he did, you would take that. Oh, I got Clinton frozen. Is Clinton's frozen in this shrug? Or am I the one frozen? I'll have to rely on the chat to figure that out. Oh, there Clinton's back.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi, which I sit right next to the modem and pay an egregious amount per month for this thing, just decided to die. So it's all good. But I was picking up. You were saying that MJ was basically put into the basket of like, was it Marlon Humphreys? Maybe on the Ravens,
Humphrey or Peters or
okay.
Jalen Ramsey was down there too. Yeah,
a name and these are the big dogs who make big money. And here's Michael Jackson making probably close to league minimum, something like that, and kind of coming off the scrap heap and playing good corner. So just again, love that, and love. It's just, to me, that the lesson is we could trust Pete to get that crap right. like that's the part of the field he will get right.
Now do the front seven, Pete. Do the front seven.
Yeah, exactly right. To do that too. We will do Frost here in 56-yard field goal as the half ends. That is not a chip shot. Myers is money. All pro Myers is money. Yes, indeed.
Right hand, Dan, that ridiculous squib kick to give us a field goal chance. And in.
Yeah. Thank you, Niners. And then thank you, Ward, for the dumb hit penalty, on Gino to give us 15 more yards to set that up. I celebrate that entire collection. I love it. All right, we got Josh DeHuman. He goes in. K9 bringing out the dog in him and getting that touchdown. That was a cool touchdown. Brandon, what was the moment that you were like, "Ooh, he's in"? Was there a little fire like, "Ooh, he's going to score"?
Oh yeah, as soon as he got outside the tackle box, you saw that there was room, and even though there was maybe a guy or two that could have a chance, that he was going through one of those guys if he had to, and he ended up outrunning everybody.
And while he doesn't look like Marshawn run the ball, totally different styles. We were down 10-0 versus that Niners team back in the day, right? The NFC Championship game, and Marshawn had a very similar touchdown on the left-hand side in that particular game. For the folks who remember that game well, it's the one where Marshawn crosses the goal line and just stops, like literally just crosses, just stops and drops the ball, and so badass. But in that moment, it was like, ooh, that was exciting, and it was a bit of a boxing match for a while until they, we took a few too many body blows, but that was the first sign that like, ooh, we might hang in this game. And again, we did for probably about as long as we could with this iteration of our Seahawks, which we will improve going into next year. I have no doubt. All right, now we get to some outs, and they're going to start coming.
All right.
Coming fast and furious. I think it's Roger Luke, the RGR Luke, right?
Ranger
Roger
Luke.
Luke. Oh, okay. Well, there you are. All right. He says out. DJ Dallas still out there returning punts in January. He's good at lots of things, but basically this ain't it.
Lloydzilla in the Discord with the out. Charles Cross on the Geno fumble. Head was in the air as it rolled past his feet. More awareness, and he falls on it and picks it up. Yeah, you could blame Cross. It felt like the football was on the ground forever after Geno, after he fumbled it. This was one of the plays where on the in the post-game show, I started off by interrupting Adam and talking about how the game hinged on our center, because Austin Blythe actually had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
And he went out with an injury, and it was while he was out on injury that the backup center was in, and I think had something to do with blocking on this play. So I have to take the L on Austin Blythe on that play, because he wasn't there, and I think he would have made a difference. And yes, if Charles Cross maybe would have been looking for a football on the ground, then maybe he would have seen it.
Yeah, it was weird looking, right? Because we're all sitting at home pointing at the TV, like DiCaprio style, right, with the beer in hand, going like, "It's right there, dude." I don't know if it's outworthy in the sense that, I get it. He just didn't see it. Obviously, if he saw it, he'd pounce on it. But I get Hugh's point is like, well, he should be looking. Kyle Fuller had come in to replace Blythe for a little bit there, and it was a bad moment. And as we know, it obviously we're down 6. I think we're going in for a score. If it's 3rd and 2, I think we get the touchdown. Game changed. But that's all 3 of these games of the Niners, right? The DJ Dallas interception throw in the Wildcat, the Travis Homer fumble / Diggs non-interception, and then this fumble. And really good teams get those plays. The great Seahawks teams, they got Richard Sherman interceptions when we're down versus the Texans and things like that. So, really keep the season going. Really good teams do that. And you tip your hat, and then you say, please, Lord, anybody beat them. Anybody beat the Niners. But that's what good teams do. And we can march towards being that kind of a team next year. And I'm excited for it. All right. Boy's biceps really, I think, had the sentiment of the day out. George Kittle's stupid face.
I mean, you could point toward a lot of stupid faces on the 49ers, but maybe George Kittle's especially.
Yes.
Josh Duman out. The players letting their emotions get to them, causing a lot of the missed tackles and penalties. And maybe it was the pressure of the moment and being down there in Santa Clara and having it be a playoff atmosphere that some of those guys weren't used to starting in. And hopefully that's something that gets fixed now that you can, now that you have some of that experience to build off of.
One of the things that I take away from it, and I would imagine the players do as well, is that, Bryant had a pretty rough game. Like the missed tackles came back like earlier in the season, and Tariq Woolen was exposed a bit, right? With all those, just the crossers from Ayuk, the crosser from Ayuk, the crosser from Ayuk. It's not the worst thing in the world for 2 rookies, one who played basically at an all-pro level, who made the Pro Bowl, and another who had a good rookie year. Remember, Bryant went from opposite of Sauce as a corner, right? Corner number 2, all of a sudden to a slot cornerback in the NFL. That ain't easy, folks. You think that's easy? That is not. It's the opposite of easy. And he still played pretty darn well, and he accelerated into the end of the season. However, I'm okay with Bryant and Tariq having a bit of a bitter end to this season, because I don't know about you, Brandon. If you ever met dudes like that who are driven, whether it's football or not, just super driven people, they don't just go, oh, shucks, and no big deal, let's go have a beer. They're going to carry that with them and wear it a little bit and make it a point to get better, to learn from it. And I think we have to take that longer view, starting this many rookies and still being this competitive. I'm okay with all of it. I think it's an okay thing for those guys to feel that kind of pain as we head into the postseason. All right, we do have Mr. Chris Farnsworth. He's always out on Twitter. Love it, at Chris Farnward 14. He talks about it. He's tweeting me saying same play over and over and over and over and over again.
You were just talking about this.
A deep cross wide open, which he's talking about Ayuk. We didn't have an answer for it. And I don't know, between I felt like the linebackers not getting enough depth and making even the fastest guy on the field, Tariq Woolen, have to go completely horizontal over and over and over again. It kind of spelled doom for us. And was frustrating. I don't know if you have any pieces of that other than it being yeah, let's fix that because now it's on tape.
I agree. That was frustrating. And yeah. I want to see that fixed. But I think that there's the opportunity if you have more athletic linebackers who can play.
I agree. I think Brooks makes a difference in this game. That's something I'm guilty of is next man up is always just as good. And I'll find the silver lining as to why it might even be better. And then, sometimes and often it's not. Brooks's athleticism is different. And he was missed.
KC Hawk with the first half was fun to watch. And you saw glimpses of what this team can be with a run game and play action passes, clean up the tackling and a little more pressure. Well, I'll correct you there, KC Hawk. A lot more pressure. And this D will be good with some smart additions in the offseason. I'm going to call our season over at halftime. Thank you, Hawks.
Yeah. With about 6:30 to go in the season, in the third quarter, that's a pretty good place to stop the tape. It's just what it really boils down to. With that, you say a lot more pressure, and I hear you. Certainly we want more pressure. We could all agree. Purdy had to scramble quite a bit where I think watching this, I'm like, do we actually need edge guys? And maybe we do. Nuosu was really good.
I don't know.
Taylor
scramble. I felt like he seemed to me more nervous in the first half, which lended people to think that maybe our defense was playing better than it was in the first half. And I don't think it was.
I don't know. If you watch the last drive before they have to punt it,
that was the one good defensive stop, I think, if you go to that one drive.
There was, maybe I'm cherry picking a bit there, but at the same, I did think they got Purdy off his spot enough. Now, what I thought happened over and over again was we didn't get enough pressure from our tackles consistently. And we had some, Shelby Harris had some, Puna had some, Miles Adams had some. The rest, not so much this game, right? Jeff was not too much. Al Woods, not too much this particular game.
There were only 2 quarterback hits the entire game.
Right.
So there weren't even close enough to get a hand on him.
I guess the question I want to boil down for you is as we start to we got some more from the flock, but as we start to think about the draft, I watched that, and to me, it didn't seem like it was defensive edge presence that was lacking. To me, it seemed more like up the gut defensive tackle, which I think is harder to source, harder anyway, and a different level of skill. But for your money, would you rather them, pick 5, let's say, would you rather them go big on the edge guy that could be that 12 to 14 sack guy, or the really stout defensive tackle that maybe gets that kind of internal pressure? What do you think?
It would be the one who can be the most consistent game wrecker type player. If you can get that from the interior, great. If it's from the edge, fine too. I think you have a spot on the defense for either one of those guys if that guy's there first. But that's where my focus would be with that first pick.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And there's some really cool conversations already starting. We've got a lot of time to think about what happens with that pick at number 5. Stroud announced today that he's coming out, the quarterback from Ohio State. And you're like, well, what does that matter to us? That's good. The more top level quarterbacks that say they come out, that 5 pick becomes more and more and more valuable to a lot of teams. So if we have to trade out and go from 5 to 7, but pick up picks, or 5 to 8 or 5 to 9, the possibilities increase as some of these really top tier quarterbacks announce and they come out, it'll be super interesting to watch. I mean, we've got the 5th pick. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I mean, I don't know about you, Brandon, time goes really quickly. It just goes. We're going to blink and it's going to be March 1. So, and then at that point we're talking drafts. So, all right, we still got some more from the flock. We got Josh DeHuman, always doing a good job He's got 3 ins, 2 outs in. Our secondary is young, talented, and can grow even better. I agree. In. Our run game is also growing with K9 at the helm. Yes. In. Gino wants to come back, and the Hawks want him back. He goes on to talk about the rest of the offense, but the big part being like Gino seems like he wants to come back, and I loved what he said in that post-game conference, and I hope he means it. He also has an out. We need a right guard and a center, and to help out that O-line. I think we all agree there. And he says the front 7 on the defense, basically just saying, hey, it's just got to get better. Stopping the run consistently, tackling, et cetera, putting a lot of focus onto that front 7 defensively. I think Josh is nailing a lot of critical points as we head into the offseason.
Yeah, and as much as I hate to say, I don't know if we need a center. Like,
right.
If there's one there in the first 2 rounds that you think can be that all-pro level type of guy, then sure, go out and get that. But down the stretch, Blythe was okay, and he wasn't the biggest problem. I think having a solid right guard, and whether or not, I don't know, can Haynes end up being that guy with full time to where he seems like a backup guy who can be solid. He just doesn't strike me as the guy who can be, or that you can at least count on to be healthy all the time, to be that full-time starter. And maybe D-Lou continues to grow. So I don't think we're talking about making that switch. Really the offensive line. Yeah. If they find a guard too, that's available in those top 36, I could see that being pretty exciting, just to have another solid dude in the middle of the offense. So yeah, if you bring back, like I said, bring Haynes back to be a backup type player. But
I do want to jump in real quick. I'm the biggest beefy boy supporter that there is. I love beefy boy Haynes, and I'm not comfortable with I don't want him as the plan. I don't want that. I want a high draft pick. And I think that the nice part about the way our draft is breaking down quickly is whether we're 19 or 20, that's a typically really good range where you could either get the best center. If you want the best center, they're usually there, or a top 3 draft, top 2 guard. They're there still. The tackles are gone. The corner, we get it. The quarterbacks are gone. The tackles are gone. The CBs are gone. A safety or 2 are off the board. A few wide receivers are gone. Chalk it up. That's the way it will go. But your number 1 or number 2 guard on your board, they're going to be there. So, and people, well, you can't. They go back to dumb arguments. Well, you got to look at draft value. No. You got to look at the team and the makeup of the team and fill the holes with the picks you got, right? And we are lucky to have a 5-19 or 5-20. Let's go get a defensive chip and let's go get a freaking guard. I mean, I'm so into that thought, man.
Ryan coming in live saying, whoa, we ended up in the multiverse where Brandon likes Austin Blythe. What did you do to Phil? I don't love Blythe. He's okay. And I'm okay if they were to bring him back on a relatively low contract. I guess you don't see a lot of penalties out of him. If there's a comfort level with Gino, then I'd be okay with that. It's just when I think of where there's huge deficiencies on this team, the gap that you would get by going out and getting a rookie center, I don't think increases as much as some of the other things that you could get with that pick, either on the defensive line, maybe a wide receiver. The interesting thing is that you could probably talk me more into a receiver this offseason than you would at center in that same kind of draft area, which is the opposite of what they did when I really wanted a center and they went out and got Eskridge in that offseason. So maybe it doesn't make sense.
I do have one. This is a fun topic, right? So whatever. Who cares? Long show. It's the last one of the year. Just remember quickly, or let's just remember back to the August timeframe. Ethan Posick goes to the Browns and signs a 1-year deal for $1 million, like 1.035. We signed Blythe to what? Was it $3.5 million, $4 million, right? Something like that. So if you had the choice right now, A or B, would you take Posick back? Regardless, say the contracts are exactly the same, because Posick had a 1-year deal, played well. He's gonna get more money than that. Say they're exactly the same. Posick or Blythe, who do you want?
Oh, that's the thing. I don't think it matters.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. I think PFF disagrees with you, but that's okay because they watch every snap.
Did Posick grade out better, or
he had a good year?
Okay. I didn't watch a lot of Posick, so and
Yep.
I don't watch every snap like PFF does.
Yeah, I don't.
But
I
even if we
understand.
just had the Posick that was the year before, I was okay with keeping Posick. That was
I,
the thing.
right.
I would have been fine with Posick staying and being on the team and playing center because I thought he was okay too. And Blythe just I didn't have the confidence that he would be anything special. He wasn't anything special. It's just that he wasn't. I don't. I had my frustrations with him.
I do want to, let's just see real quick. Let's just check in on, PF for the fun of it. So the overall grade for Posick was 79, which is
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
Blythe came in at 51.2.
Which is yeah, below league average.
Right, exactly. So yeah, Posick had a pretty good year. So he's a free agent. So he knows the system. He's a free agent. Just saying, why not start the hot stove talk right now? Because heck, it's fun and we make the rules, like I said.
Bring it back, Austin, or bring it back, Ethan Posick.
That's it. Start it up. All right, we got 2 more to get to. Why don't you take KC Hawk and I'll finish with
All
Bloomy.
right, KC Hawk out. I'm going to be a broken record here, but those dang 3 lineman downfield penalties, 49 called in the 272 games this year so far, not counting Bill Cincy. 6% of all calls happening in one of 272 games. Out to Lewis, out to the line coach, out to the refs for ticky-tack nature. I'm still sore that first one moved us back, and then Gino fumbled. All downhill after that call. Grr.
He ain't wrong. KC Hawk is not wrong. It changed the game. And I can still look at that and be like, man to man, he's a half yard over what the rules say, right? So there's that. It's
I don't know if the rule gives you a 1 yard leeway. I think the rule is you're behind the line of scrimmage, and and officials just tend to give players a yard.
I think you're allowed a yard over the line, but they always said, hey, they kind of give you that extra yard. That's how I heard it. So, okay. But either way,
if it says in the rule book that they get a yard, then but I don't think it does.
Yeah, but we have plenty of time to canvas that one. The bottom line is it was such a quick hitter, right? Like, what are you doing downfield? What are you doing? Just put your hands into the guy and stand there, and we're good. And it's 3rd and 2. So
I don't even think he had anybody in front of him on that play, right?
No, he just I
guess I'll just start walking down the field.
He just starts walking.
I don't know. That's why that rule is kind of. I understand why there's the rule. Did we talk about this yet? Did we talk about why the rule is there to?
No, we talked about why defensive holding maybe shouldn't exist. That we talked about a little bit.
Okay. Well, this one, it has a place in the sense that you don't want your offensive linemen being in the way to either run pick plays or to occupy the space that a defender may think that they're an eligible receiver. So the spirit of the rule is that you don't want those offensive linemen being a part of the passing plays and getting in the way. It really was inconsequential as far as the play goes because there was nobody around Lewis and he wasn't like out there acting as if he's running a route, trying to confuse the defense. He wasn't running into a linebacker to try and to set up a pick play within the 5 yard distance or whatever they had. So yeah, it doesn't make it's a meaningless call. I would rather them call the defensive holding like when they're supposed to.
Yeah, in that case, the dude's actually doing something, right? Like holding a guy. And I hear you. And I think D-Lou's going to have a long off season to kind of think about. He had 3 of the same call. So at some point, it's got to be like, dude, don't move. Especially these quick hitters. Just put your hands into a guy. If no one's there, then watch the ball be complete and then go block somebody, right? So, watch the ball in the air at least because you're allowed to move, but once the ball is released,
and practice your screen game while you're at it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're one of the bad ones at it, but I don't see anybody good at
it. They're all bad at it. Let's be very clear. All right, one thing we're not bad at is closing this thing out with Bloomy. He's coming back in for the last one of the year. He's got it in and an out. How sober yin, raging yang for it all to close this way. This is Hawk Van Dyke in the Discord. Again, this is Dave Bloomquist. He says, we did far more than expected and still hold the 5th draft pick. That's true. He says, out. did we have to lose to those douchebags? And Brandon, I that's a beautiful sentiment. Like, it's the Niners back to the top of the hatred. I love sports hate. I love sports hate. That's how much I hate the Niners. That's how much I love hating those guys. So let's go. I think it might be Eagles, it might be Bucks. I don't know who it is. Just somebody take down the friggin' Niners.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.